Hello watchers, welcome back with another video by Coachit, and in today's video we are going to see some of the useful methods that are available in JavaScript. Basically, some of the useful methods of an array in JavaScript. That's what I meant. In this video, we are basically going to focus mostly on arrays right now. But in later videos, we will cover other data type as well. But for this video, we are just going to cover some of the useful methods that it's just like if you know these methods, then things will become easy for you to do. So these are all inbuilt methods and kind of a higher order function, and there are some of the higher order function to say, like a map, filter, and reduce. If you don't know like what uh, is a higher order function, so it's a kind of a function that takes either functions as an argument or returns functions or return a function. If any function do any of these things, then you can consider it as a higher order function. But in this video we're going to see like what are the methods available when it comes to array in JavaScript. So just let me define a very basic uh, array. Let's call it a name. Okay, and let's say a b c d f. Okay, so we have 6 different elements in our array, and we are going to see how these methods or how these thing works here, right? So we are going to start with the forEach, and I think like this is the method that most of you might have already used in your life. Okay, so it's a very basic one, but just like just me just for the sake of clarity, I'm telling you the for this one is basically for those who don't know about this. Okay, so this is for beginner, you can say. So if you are completely beginner, if you want to know like how many methods are in JavaScript, and then this thing you can look at. And yeah, so it's very simple. So you will write the name of variable, and I don't know why it's saying name is depreciated. Okay, so just uh name it something different, like my array. Okay, something like that. Although I know that naming convention I'm using is not great, but forget it. So this is our array, and when you'll click on when you will click dot, or even you'll enter dot or something like that. I think it's a dot, and after that you'll see like there are a bunch of different methods here. You can use these methods, although I don't think we will cover all of these in this single video, but of course if you know these things, it will become easier for it will things will become easier for you. And to know more of these, you can definitely go and check uh, very awesome documentation by Mozilla, I think. Yeah, it's by Mozilla, and they have defined all of its methods, and we basically call it prototype method. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of a same. So let's start with for each. So what you're going to take, so you just use this for each method. You have to write it like this, my array dot, and following the method name, and inside this for each takes a callback function, yeah, function as an argument, that as I said, like because it's a higher order function. Okay, and inside this function we get one element at one time. Basically it loops through each element, and if I console log now, then you will see, let me just console it, array method, you will see like it has logged every single element one at a time. So that's how you can use for each, and it's a very simple, I know. Now we're gonna see something much better, and much better, although it is better as well, but it's just a very common, you know if you just want to loop something, then you can use it. Then now we're going to see like a map. What is map? So map is it's a kind of a for each, but with some different features. So it also loops through each element, but at each iteration you can modify uh, the value and then put that value, then you can return that value and it will store that in new array that is that it's generating. I know it's not clear to you right now, but let me just show you one example. So let's say it's a map, although it's a very simple array, so here it does not make any sense, but let's just try to do something. So so one thing to remember, like a map always returns a array. So just let's store it inside something somewhere. Let's just store it somewhere. So mapped array equal to my array dot map, and it also takes the same I equal to, it also takes the argument, it also takes a function as an argument. And one thing to note here, like you have to return, no, don't forget to return in case of if you are mapping it, because at each iteration when you modify you modify that element, not that element but the copy of that element, and then store it inside the new array that you are creating right now. Okay, so this map method does the same. So it's gonna like loop over each and every element, and at that time you can simply take that element and like modify it however you want. Although here I don't know how, here although here it doesn't make sense to modify this, but uh, in there will be like some of the situation when you want to modify it. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to attach uh, dollar with each and every element. Okay, I want a array where there will be a dollar attached to each element, right? So one way of doing this is like I can like either modify this main array like by looping it, or I have to like first define a second array and then I can push it into that, right? But with help of this mapped array, with help of this map method, you don't need to do so. And now if I like let me just create a new element. Okay, just name it new element, and what we are going to do, we're going to take I and we're going to plus dollar here. Okay, and now just return new L simply. Yeah, that's it. So now if I console log mapped array, then you will see it's a dollar, 8, B dollar, C dollars, D dollar, E dollar, because at each iteration we are modifying that element and storing it in different variable and then returning it. And that's why at each iteration it returns some modified value, and it is storing it inside this one like a new variable, because it returns that new array. And things to make sure here, like things to like it's important to know, like it doesn't mutate the original array, it just creates a copy of given array. Okay, basically creates a copy and then returns it. So it's not like it returns and modifies this array. Okay, so now we are going to see like how filter method works. As it sounds, it's very simple. So it is used to filter certain element from your array. Let's see how it works. So just like a map method, it also returns an array which you will store. Basically a filtered array, like a array after filtering it. So you have to store it somewhere if you want to use it. So like I'm gonna store it inside a filtered array, and there is a my array like that we're going to filter, and there is a filter method attached to it. Okay, and it also takes the same functions as an argument, and inside that you have a value at each iteration. Thing to make sure here is like here you will either return a true or false. Okay, so if it's a true, then it is gonna pass, it will basically allow that element. Okay, or if it's false, then it's gonna filter that, like it will just remove it, or it will just don't include that, it will just does not include that. Okay, into this filtered array. So let's say I want to filter this one. Okay, the C basically that you're seeing here. So what we can do, like I'm gonna just return if I equal to C, not C, if I equal to C, if that is the case, then return it. Then no, if that is not the case, if the element is not C, if the current element is not C, then only in that case is true, or in or if it's not, then it's gonna false. So now if I console log this one, filtered array, then you will see something like this: A, B, D, E, F. There is no element like C, right? So that's how it works. Or now if I do something like if I equal to C, only then it's gonna accept that element, or if it's not, then it's gonna filter that. Okay, so let's see now how it works. So now there is only C, and rest of the elements have been filtered. Okay, so that's how you can like use filter method in your application, basically in your in array. Okay, not an application. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Okay, so now we have seen these filter methods as well, filter method as well. Now let's move to pop. So pop is very simple, I think. Let me just show you. So let's say my array dot pop, and what it does, like it removes last element from an array. Okay, so whatever is gonna remove the f1, and then it's gonna like and the thing to note here, things and one of the most important thing to note here, like it modifies the new array, right? Because it doesn't return any new array here. It makes so it deletes a last element from original array. So make sure that. Uh, so now if I console log this my array, my array, then you're gonna see like there is a B C D E, but there is no F, of course, because it has popped this element. So that's how pop method works. Now let's move to the push one. So it's a quite an opposite of pop. It so what it does, like it adds element to the last of the array, last index basically. So if I push something, my array dot push, and if I do something like 30, then it's gonna add this 30 at very last here. Okay, so let's see. Although it's a JavaScript, so yeah, you can like have elements with different data type, but please don't misuse it. Okay, so that's how you can use push method. Shift method is quite an opposite of both of these. And now you might be thinking like how so basically what shift method does, it basically adds, not it basically removes an element from beginning. Like it's gonna it in like it will remove a from start, or start, yeah, of course, start. It's gonna remove a from beginning. Let's see, my array dot shift. Now if I print this, then you'll see it started printing from B, C, D, E, F, because A has been removed. Okay, so that's how you can use shift method. And now unshift is quite an opposite, just like push. What it does, it simply takes my array, then unshift basically adds it adds a value at first position, or 0th index, you can say. Okay, so let's see how it does. So yeah, now you can see like it has added 20 at first. So that's how insert method works. Now here comes reduce. Reduce is my favorite though, but I don't know how to show you use case, by the way. Yeah, so I need I'll explain this in last, basically. Okay, so just let's cover up these rest of the methods. And after that, I'll come back to reduce because it's one of the like important, not important, but it's like one of my favorite method to say. So I'm going to explain it like a uh, very in detail basically. Okay, so let's move to reverse. So reverse, as it sounds, I think, not I think, because I haven't tried, so that's why I'm saying I think. So it returns, it reverses an array and returns that array. Uh, you can see. So it has reversed an array and then it returns it. Okay, so it doesn't modify like original array here. It basically returns a new array which you can store wherever you want. Because if after that, if I print my array, then you will see it's same as it was. No, it's not as that. Sorry, I made a mistake and I have to accept that. I think it doesn't, although it returns array, but it basically modifies the original array. So yeah, that's something you have to keep in mind because it's a method that I don't use quite regularly, so that's why. But yeah, I thought it's important. I thought it would be important because here you can see, because I thought like it would be important because it's a kind of a thing to reverse, and I think a lot of people use these, so that's why. So yeah, sorry for that. Now let's move to the sum. Sum is quite okay. So sum basically checks for certain condition, or if there is an element inside an array with that condition, then it simply returns true. Okay, it doesn't matter like how many elements are there that satisfy the same condition, but you have to there should be at least one element that should be uh, there should be at least one element to meet that requirement to say. So let me just show you how it does. So for this, I'm gonna like make a separate array, uh, test array, you can say, and I'm gonna write different bunch of number. Okay, so here what I will say. So to test sum, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna simply check if test array. It also accepts a callback function, and here basically you have to write, I think, condition, if I'm not wrong. So here you are supposed to like if I is greater than, of course you have to return it. You have to return the condition. If I is greater than 500. Okay, so if this will be the condition, if any of these elements will satisfy this condition, then it's simply gonna return a boolean value true. Okay, if none of these will satisfy this condition, then it's gonna return false. Let's see how. Const is it, just I don't know. I know it doesn't make any sense to have this name, but just keep it. And now let's console log is it, and let's see. It's false because none of these elements actually satisfy this condition. Okay, so but if I do something like 400, I think now it should be true. You know why? Because there is at least one element which is like a 442 which satisfies this condition, and that's why it returns sum. Basically, it returns true. Okay, so in case of sum, all you need to return is a condition, and this at least one element from an array should satisfy this condition in order to return it true. If none of these elements satisfy this condition, then it will simply return false. So yeah, And after that, we will see. Uh, Now let's move to another one. Okay, so now let's take a look at a find method, basically. Find method, what it does, as it sounds, it basically returns the first element from array that satisfies the certain condition. Okay, so let's see how it works. So I'm gonna let's store this inside found element, and I'm gonna find it like a my array dot find. Basically, the method name is find, and it also accepts the same callback function, which returns a condition. Okay, so let's return if I is equal to 23. If that is the case, then just return the element. Sorry, console dot log and found element. If they satisfy this condition, uh, no, it doesn't. Oh, sorry, because I commented this out. So if satisfy this condition, it's gonna return the value, I think, but it didn't because it's a test array and I'm keeping it here. Okay, so now it will return 23, but if it doesn't exist, then it's gonna return undefined. Okay, uh, but let's say if there are so let's say if there is two what we did if there is a if current element is 23, and then it's gonna return 23. Okay, but can you tell me which one it returned, whether this one or this one? So it returns the first element that satisfies this condition. So in this case, this element satisfied this condition, so that's why it has returned this element, not this element. Okay, so even if I do something 500 here, and now let's just test let's just return the I greater than 400, or yeah, I greater than 400. In that case, can you guess what it would return? So it's going to return 442. So because this is the first element that satisfies this condition, this condition. But if I put this 442 after 500, then you will see it's gonna return 500 instead. The reason is quite simple, because this is the first element now who satisfies this condition. So find methods are used to find a certain element, and it returns the basically the element that's the first element from an array that satisfies this condition. So yeah, that's it. Now let's move to the another topic, that is the sort. Sort is kind of useful, and it's a very easy as well. So let's see a sorted array, and if I'm not wrong, I'm not sure, but I'm not wrong, then I think it returns an array. It doesn't modify the old one. So let's say test array dot sort, but sort also takes a function. Okay, callback function, but this callback function accepts two argument. Okay, and here you have to basically uh, define a minus b if you want this to be in ascending order, and b minus a if you want this to be in descending order. So let's see, return console log sorted array. So if I now print this, now you can see 1, 11, 23, 23, 44, and it's in ascending order. But if you want this to be in descending order, then you have to do it in b minus a. Okay, so this is the basically algorithm that they have defined uh, to how you want your elements to be sorted. Okay, in which order you want your elements to be sorted. Okay, so now if I do this, you will see it has sorted this in descending order. Now let's take a look at a short, basically splice. And I think splice, but let's just check one more thing here, whether it has modified original array or not, which I really doubt, but let's just see. Okay, so it has. So sorry, it actually so it actually modifies the original array. And now let's see splice. Okay, so now let's take a look at splice. Splice, what it does, it basically trims an array and it returns an array and that you can store. And I think it's also like I think it trims original array if I'm not wrong. Okay, so let's see if it does. So test array dot splice, and there is a it takes two argument basically. Okay, although it's an optional, but like you have to define, you can define two argument here. The start of array, like a starting index, and the ending index, like and the index where you want to end this array, want this array to be end, basically where you want this array to end. Okay, so now if I console log test array, then you will see it has trimmed. Okay, as expected. So it does what it does, like it has trimmed this one, and now you can see it has trimmed two elements, 0 and 1. 0 and 1. Okay, and after that it prints all of these things. It has printed all rest of the elements basically. Okay, you can also console log this one, so it will show you what elements uh, it sliced, the elements that it sliced. It will show you that. And here you can see 50442. So it sliced, basically spliced, or whatever you can say. It spliced two elements from an array and returned the rest of the element here. Okay, so it also basically modifies the splice like main array. And after that, like let's see what this join does. Okay, so this is gonna be like last method in our array section. Although it's not last, because there are like a lot of methods available here, which you can take a look at. But for here, like for this video, this is going to be last. If you know these methods, then I think your life will become lot more easier. Okay, so now let's take a look at join. So what this join does, it takes an array and join with certain separator. Okay, so let's see console log. So I'm just gonna simply console log it. Okay, test.array and join. And if you will not define anything here, like there is nothing, then it will return a string. So it's a string. Make sure, like keep in your mind that it's a string. Okay, and it has joined the entire array, the elements of array, through this nothing, you can say. Okay, but if I give a space here, then it's gonna like join these elements through this with this space. Here you can see like there is a space between these, and believe me, not believe me, and the thing to note here is like it's in a string format. Okay, so if I do anything like if I do anything weird here, okay, so then you will see like it has separated these things with this custom separator, you can say. So join does and works in this way. So yeah, it's also important uh, method to say. So yeah, these were like an important method, and now we will take a look at our last method called reduce and how it works. So now let's see how reduce works. Okay, so it's a kind of a tricky, but if you'll take a if you'll take a closer look, then you'll easily understand this. It's not something like superficial thing. It's a very easy and like what it's very handy to say. If you know how to use it, you will love it. Believe me. I don't know about others, but I personally love this thing, and I use it a lot. Not a lot, but whenever I get to map something, some external data, and whenever I get to map that into something, then I use it a lot. So how it works? So let's take an example of the same thing, like this test array. Okay. So okay, sorry. So let's keep it here, and now let's try to let's try to apply reduce on it. So what are we going to do? We're going to like sum this entire thing. The one way of doing this could be you will define a count, or you can say sum, and you will assign initially to 0, and you will like for each test array, then for each I, and then equal to sum plus 1, right? This is the one of the way of doing this. And if after that, if you'll console log this, then you will see the total sum. And why the hell is that? Like what? Where the hell did I? Okay, so this is okay. I forgot to like put this because I am not returning something here. So now if I'll take a, I think this one should work. Is sum equal to sum plus I. Okay, now it's fine. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so this is the const. This was the const, so that's why it was not like I was unable to change it. Now it's gonna work. So it has like sum of all of these elements. It has some all these elements. Okay. So this is the one way of doing this. But you can do the same by using reduce method. Let me show you how. So you're gonna assign like totals. So it's gonna return like what it does. Like basically, uh, in simple word, reduce method takes an array. Okay, and it loops through each and every element of an array, and after that, it modifies it, and it stores it inside. It stores it inside a custom type of data, custom type variable. Custom, I don't know what to say that, but custom data type. Okay, the visual define, which is also known as accumulator, to say. Let me show you this by an example, and you will understand this better. So it's a test array and dot reduce method, and this also and it also accepts of functions as an argument, and inside this it accepts two argument here. The one is accumulator, and the another one is current element. So this is the current element, like a element at each iteration, like 504 442 23 44 23 11 and 1. Okay, whatever it is. And accumulator is a kind of data or variable, you can say, like a temp variable where you will store this in everything. Okay, so this is the kind of thing which you can say like a 0 or empty array or whatever you want to like assign it. So think it as a like the thing that we did here, sum equal to 0. So this is the sum actually. Okay, so here but to define it, like what kind of data it should be, you have to define like an empty way of empty thing like that. So if it's like a number, then you will have to like define it like a 0. If it's a array, if it's an array, then you have to define it like this one if you want to like, use array as your variable. But here, because we are using a sum, which will be number as a variable, which will be a number in terms of data type, then that's why we are going to like define it as a 0 initially. Okay, so it's a like a base like initializer, like okay, whatever the thing you want to initialize it at first. So this is your variable name and it's your first initializer, and this one is your initializer. You have initialized the accumulator to 0 right now. Okay, so like you can keep it whatever you want, but we have initialized it to 0. And now at each iteration, what do we want? We will take accumulator and add our current element to it. Okay, and at last we will simply return accumulator, this one. And after that, if I console log total sum, then you will see it has returned the sum of every single element, not every single, basically sum of these all numbers. Okay, so that's how it works. I know like there are like a lot of mistakes I made, but that's fine. That's how we learn. Because even like at some of the things, I'm slightly confused, you know, because I don't use them quite well. Basically I don't use them all the time. But yeah, there are some of the methods that I use a lot, and I mention it like what these methods are. Like the one is reduce, and the second you can say is map, filter, and forEach, of course. So these are the, and there is also one is sum, you can say, and one find. So these are the one of the common method. So these are the common methods that I use. But yeah, I think that's it for today's video. I hope you liked it, and if you liked it, then don't forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe this channel. I mean, kind of opposite. Like first subscribe the channel, and after that press the bell icon. So goodbye. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.